Welcome to Tea Time with Bunky. This is Reggie. Hi, Dan. All right.
Welcome to Tea Time with
Welcome to Tea Time with Bunky. This is super recent. Welcome to Tea Time with Bunky. I missed you guys. I really did. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tea Time with Bunky. Welcome to Tea Time with Bunky. Tea Time with Bunky. Look, y'all, I gotta read this because I don't be remembering stuff. Tea Time with Bunky is more than just a show. It's a safe space, a welcoming space where everyone can share their stories and life journeys, from survivors and advocates, community leaders, and everyday voices. No story is too big and no story is too small. You can tune in every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. But when you tune in on Instagram, I tell everybody this all the time. I can't see your comments, and I really want you to be a part of the conversation. So jump over to my YouTube channel and join in your comments and everything. Just be a part. We dive deep into topics that matter to you, from social issues, politics, to self-healing and transformation. Become part of a community that believes in the power of sharing and healing together. Welcome to Tea Time with Bunky. I don't have anything really crazy to say today because I haven't been diving into politics. Why? Because it drives me crazy. So we're not going to really be talking about politics today. But everybody just know that there are elections coming up. You need to get out there and vote. If you don't vote and make your voices heard, you don't matter. You can't say anything. Right now, it's looking kind of crazy out there in them streets. But if you go out there and you vote, know your politicians. It's all Republican now. They're all running a party. And I keep telling people it's not about Democrat, Republican. Forget those parties. But right now, you can't forget them. You got to get Democrats in, hopefully, if they speak to you. Meaning what they're saying aligns with what your beliefs and where you stand, because it's crazy right now. Right now, nobody is standing up to this dude, and he's doing whatever he wants to do. And there's a few Democrats that are bucking up against him. You have to get in there and vote, you guys. But I'm not gonna go there because it's gonna make me crazy. It's gonna make me crazy. Tonight's special guest. Tonight, the author of Grace Under Fire, 7 Strategies for Navigating Life with Trigeminal Neuralgia. Look at that. I did it. Yes, try Jesus. Miss Loretta Pearson, author of this book. We're going to dive deep into this sickness, her journey. I'm not going to cry, y'all. I'm not going to cry. But before I bring her on, I was looking up some stuff because I wanted to know a little bit about it. And, like how many people in the world, So they apparently, as of today, unless somebody was born, there probably some people were born, but as of 5:30 this afternoon, in the world, there were over 8,211,749,620 people in the world, y'all, in the world. Approximately in the world, 150,000 people are diagnosed, which is 0.3% to 0.3% around the world are diagnosed annually with this sickness. And in America alone, 10,000 to 15,000 in the US are diagnosed with this sickness. And people are suffering silently. People are suffering silently. So for those dealing with this and all other sicknesses, because it just seems like I'm coming across so many people that I love now seems like have a cancer diagnosis or something. It's just like it's going crazy. So sickness running rampant through the land. So we just want to continue to pray for everybody around the world overall, because we don't know who's dealing with what is going on. So we have people dealing with sicknesses. We have the government going insane. So we just need to pray. Pray. But without further ado, I want to bring my special guest on, my little sister. She's a part of, Lord, I forgot. Is she number 2 or is she number 1? I don't know, but she'll tell us. Of the dynamic duo, Miss Loretta Pearson.
Is she
Hey.
2 or is she 1?
And I'm like, is she the oldest? Are you the oldest?
I am.
Okay, so number one.
By
of the
1
nine.
minute, but I am.
A whole listen. Minute is a
Hi,
minute.
Bunky.
Hi, it's Miss Miller. Hi, Loretta. How are you today?
I am well. How are you?
I'm blessed.
Uh-oh.
No,
Okay.
God is good. Because in the
Awesome.
midst of it all, it could always be worse, right?
Absolutely.
So that's my answer to everything now. How you doing? I'm blessed. I'm good. You're good. So, about this book, you guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Greats Under Fire. And I said I was going to tell you something, and it makes sense when I said basically this is going to be on you. Because I'm be honest, I bought the book when you put it out, right? And everybody that wants to buy, here's the information down there where you can go get your signed copy. I didn't finish the book. How long did I
Okay.
didn't, you know why? You know why I didn't finish the book? It was too much. It was, and I'm
Emotional.
like, and I'm a waterhead. I cry
Yeah.
all the time.
Are you going to cry tonight?
I'm probably going to, because what's going to happen is we're going to touch on something here, and I'm going to tell you where I got to in the book, and then you're going to understand why I cried. You're going to say, and I'm like, yo, I can't do this. But for me to just be reading it, and I didn't live through it, I think I found out after the fact, right? But it's so heavy. I read that part to my Ro, not your Ro, my Ro. And he was like, wow. When I say her Ro, y'all, her twin is Ro. Zeta.
And her Ro is Russell.
Yeah. So we got Rose. So, but so tell everybody, tell everybody a little bit about you, because I had to get all that out of the way before we get into this serious. Tell everybody
about me.
Yeah, people need to know.
My name is Loretta Pearson. I am one of the babies of 8 siblings. I am an identical twin. And I don't know. What else do you want to know? I work in the human services field for 24 years.
Good Lord.
One job. So,
look at that. That's something. Okay. Yep. And you're a trigeminal neuralgia survivor.
Thank God, survivor. Yes.
You see how I pronounced that? You see?
You did good.
And a minute ago, I couldn't do it.
And I noticed you did a kind of swivel when you did it. Trigeminal.
I had to pronunciate. But
whatever helps.
Yeah, it helped. It helped. And for those that don't know, because I didn't know anything about this disease until you and Ro came on my show. I had no idea that this even existed. But
a lot of people don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's known. When I looked it up, and you mentioned it on the show, for those that, when I keep saying the show, go back to my YouTube page, right? Tell them to go back to my YouTube page, scroll down, and you'll find Growing Up a Twin, where you can catch both of them together.
Yeah, it was a good episode.
And that was amazing. And that's when you mentioned this, and you were mentioning little things about it. And I'm like, what? But then when I looked it up, right? See, even though I'm telling stuff, you still gonna get, is known for carrying an excruciatingly painful sensation from your face to your brain. Many find that even the mildest, and you mentioned this, the mildest stimulation of the face causes, mild stimulation even from brushing your teeth or putting on makeup can trigger a condition that can cause an electric type shock pain. Like when you said that, I'm like,
down to the floor.
But it's typically affects women.
Yes, more than men for whatever reason.
And you're not 50.
Nope.
But most likely affect people over 50. So I'm like,
keep in mind, there are children 6 years old, 7 years old, 12 years old that have this.
That's crazy.
And can't describe it to a doctor like I could, right?
Right.
Or like my sister could for me, how do they put into words how painful
Hi,
this
Auntie
is
Retta.
experiencing? Hi.
Now, for those of us, okay, now we're going to get into the show. For those
Hmm.
that don't understand it exactly, how does TN, because I'm going to say, because that's just less of a mouthful, how does TN affect the body?
It affects every aspect of the body, Bunky. I mean, from the time you wake up in the morning until you lay down at night,
Hmm.
you have to think how many nerves and muscles it takes to smile, to frown, to do whatever,
Hmm.
how many nerves we have running through our face.
Right.
Um, Mine would be like, once I open my eyes, I would try to lay there as still as possible, because the minute you get active, the minute you sit up, it's on fire. And
Look, I look distracted. I'm sorry, because you know what happened? Because remember I told
that's
you I
okay.
was like nervous. Listen, I put my phone down. I don't know where I put my phone. I found it. Because the music, I never turned the music off. Turn off Alexa.
Oh, I
Never
don't even
turn
hear
the,
it.
I never turned the music off. Okay. Okay. I'm like, what is going
So so TN is trigeminal neuralgia. It's an umbrella term for a very broad nerve disorder.
on? Okay.
And um when I say chronic pain, it is chronic pain. And so it's called the trigeminal nerve because it's a nerve that runs a upper, first, second, and third branches.
Yeah, I
And
saw
I
that.
had it in all three.
Is that
And
common?
it varies. It can vary greatly. Some people have it on both sides of the face.
Oh God.
Some people have trigeminal neuralgia mixed with other forms of neuralgia. So it really can vary greatly. The degree of intensity is different
Hmm.
for people. And it depends on people's pain tolerances as well.
Uh-huh.
I happen to have a very high tolerance for pain,
Okay.
and that still didn't help. Like, it still took me to some very dark places. Um, and it just doesn't affect your face, your body. It
Uh-huh.
affects your mental, every part of your being is almost defined by this disorder if you let it.
Okay. Well, take us back to when it all started. When you noticed that something was different, like something is going on. So take us back to
February
the beginning.
February 2020, about a week before, maybe 2 weeks before the pandemic started,
Okay.
had a pain that I thought was a toothache. I had a cleaning maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks prior. So I thought maybe they overlooked something, they missed something. I hadn't had a cavity in years. So I thought, okay, well, it could be a possibility.
It's what the
Um,
cavity feel like.
right. And so I went back just to see, maybe it felt like it was along the gum line. So maybe if he could just see, if they
Mhm.
missed something when they did the deep cleaning or.
Right.
And after 3 dental visits within like 2 days, my dentist was like, honey, you need to see a neurologist. There's nothing wrong with your teeth. And I was like, okay. And so you think, okay, you're going to go. I went to urgent care because by the third day, it was so bad that I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna have to do something. So I went to urgent care. There happened to be a neurologist on staff, and he diagnosed me like immediately with trigem. So I'm thinking, I'm good.
Right.
At least I have a name and I could get it treated, right? At
Right.
least I could get some medication for it.
So
Bunky,
your
I did
initial
not
reaction
know
was like you blew it off. Like, oh, okay, this is something I can probably
that
take a
could be
pain pill or
fixed
something. Yes.
because
Nothing.
I didn't know anything about it. I
Right.
didn't research it in the urgent care room after he told me what it was. So
Right.
I'm thinking, okay, well, it's I'm good.
Okay.
And I was not. As
But how did
time
he when he told you though? Like how was his like did he say it in a way that would give you concern or did he just say it all nonchalantly? Oh, you have
nonchalantly,
tragic.
he was
Oh God.
like, I've seen a couple of people come in here this week that I diagnosed with trigem. So I'm almost 100% sure that's what you have. People deal with it all the time. And I was like, okay.
Okay. Yeah, like
And I thought I was good.
right.
Get some medication for it to, stop the pain. And your body even will build up a tolerance to the different medications. So
Right.
they're only masking it. The medication's not treating it. It's not curing
God
it.
is
It's just
good.
masking the pain.
Right.
And yes, he is, Josie. And it progressively gets worse. And mine got worse probably faster than a lot of people. Some people have had it for 15 years and they're managing it. Don't ask me how.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. I barely, and if people read my book, they know I barely survived 3 years.
And the we'll get to the book.
It changes your whole life, People hear the word, they look at it, a nerve disorder, but they don't understand what it does, to you.
So walk us through that. Walk us through like some of your toughest moments. You said it progressed fast, right? So February 20th,
Mm-hmm.
you got diagnosed.
Yep.
During COVID.
Right.
Before we get into it, let me ask you, if we weren't shut down, do you think you would have caught it earlier? Like paid attention to what was going on? Because we were shut down, the world was quiet. So did you think you would have been able to pay attention to what your body was telling you if the world wasn't shut down?
Pay attention to what my body was telling me as far as TN?
No, it's like, your body.
Right.
But because like we were working, okay, so we
weren't even remote yet. We were remote almost 2.5 weeks later was when we got the order to go remote.
When I started having symptoms and what turned out to be
polymyalgia.
These algas then turned out to be lupus.
Yes.
So it's not severe, but the pain all the time is rough. So I can't even. Oh, God bless you.
Right, Hasina, it's a beast.
Okay, so let's go back. We weren't shut down. Everybody, I see you. There's sometimes I'm not going to be able to I'll post the comments. Sometimes I'm not even going to be able to like read them, but I just want you to know that I'm here with you. I see you and I appreciate you all. And real quick for everybody that's on Instagram, jump on over to my YouTube page so we can see your comments. Okay, so this all happened before the shutdown. Let's go back. So you're taking us through this journey.
Mm-hmm. So about 2.5 weeks before the shutdown is when I started getting the little shocking that I thought might have been a toothache. And then we go a few months, about a month and a half later was when I was like, okay, something else is happening at the same time. And that's when I was denied that medical testing. Come to find out, I had a brain full of blood clots.
How did they wait? You can't just jump to that and say you got brain full.
He's like, back up.
Yeah, like, how did they? This is in February, the diagnosis. You went to try to get treatment or special testing to find out more about the TN, or what made you want to get more testing? Like what?
Well, I had started researching Trigem because, of course, you're not going to tell me that I have this that I've never seen before, even throughout nursing school or any of that, and think that I'm not going to do my research.
Okay.
So over time, I would read about it, look stuff up, and March-ish was when April-ish, I knew something else was happening. Like I started feeling different. And when I was comparing it to the signs and symptoms of TN, it wasn't matching up, it wasn't lining up. So I was like, okay, something else is going on, and I couldn't put my finger on it. But I would explain as much as I could my symptoms to Rosetta so that we could kind of figure out what this is. So I was like, there's a diagnostic imaging that the neurologists have never mentioned. throughout all this time I was going. And I mean,
Right.
I was going to the doctors every week, every other week. I was on the phone with them every week because the pain was so bad I couldn't deal with it. So I was always in their face.
Right.
I was always in their face. And so I kept saying, but you're not mentioning this specific testing. Can we do this? It's a
Mhm.
testing that shows all the networking of your nerves, your arteries, your veins, all that
You're
stuff.
not
So
gonna just do that.
I figure if anything, do it for the TN. Don't do it because I think there's something else.
Right.
Just do it for the TN because it could be considered part of the TN workup.
Right.
Right? All these different diagnostic tests could be
Especially
considered
if
part
he
of the
acts
TN
like
workup.
it's so common, like do the test.
Right.
Right.
And if you have a patient who you've worked with before, so you know
Right.
them, you know how they present, and you know that when you see me in your office that I'm not the Loretta that used to work with you.
Right. There's
When
something different.
before you were my coworker, now you're
Right.
my doctor.
Right.
So you know how I present. So
Right.
when I'm falling in the hallways and bumping up against the wall and using my hand to guide myself down the wall, following him down the hallway till we get to his office for my appointment, you know there's something wrong.
Now,
So why not just order it?
how long did it take you to get from February to how long did it take you to get to the point where you're holding on to the walls?
2.5 months, and I don't know how countless medications,
That was fast.
passing out, throwing up, foam, blood. That's not TN. That's not TN. Passing out, which some people do pass out from the severity of the pain,
Right, I was gonna say
but
the
not
pain.
passing out.
So you're foaming like blood, foaming at the
No, throwing up.
throwing up blood.
And when I tell you that it was this blood almost foam, I was like, something's not right. Something's not right. And I kept explaining like a heaviness. Rosetta bought me all sorts of neck braces because I was like, my head feels like it's too heavy to carry around. It felt like my neck was going to break. That's not TN. I know enough to know it's not TN. And we kept going in, and some people feel challenged, doctors,
Right.
when, they
Right.
feel challenged.
Right.
They don't want you to suggest to them how to do
Right.
their job.
Right.
And so they err, unfortunately, more times than we could even dream
Mhm.
or count. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But luckily, which is why I mentioned in the book, having an advocate is so important because I could barely talk. I don't have the wherewithal. Something was going on in my brain, so I didn't even have the verbal skills to be able to sit there and be like, yo, I said I need this done. I want you to order it. I didn't have that energy,
And
that spirit.
everybody that knows you know the
Right.
communication
And I
is
could speak up
not a
for myself.
problem.
Right.
Absolutely.
Communication is not a problem.
That's not a problem.
And if I could take up for anybody, it's myself.
Right.
But I couldn't even do that.
Right.
I was communicating with Rosetta a lot of times through sign language. Thankfully, we know a little bit of ASL.
That
And
twin
so
thing,
she
y'all.
would speak to the doctors,
Right.
But she was like, when I told her that I think I'm dying, she got on that phone and I remember her voice. I remember her tone. I remember her walking with the cell phone with her hand in the air. Like, if something happens to my sister, I'm coming for y'all.
And
But you know
you
what?
said
Got the test scheduled immediately after months.
because you got to threaten people, and which is
Because
terrible.
we got to go John Q on people.
You said, I mean, we're going to get back to it, but like when you mentioned in your book, and I told you I didn't finish the book, right? I didn't finish the book. I got to chapter 3, I got to chapter 3.
Mm.
Didn't even get through all the way through chapter 3. I got to chapter 3. It totally stopped, you guys. It stopped. Chapter 3 is no, it's not chapter. Is it chapter? Yep. Feed your faith. Where you said this because you keep talking about Ro. And we're going to get back to this. And I don't know if we should get to this, but I just have to say this because you need to know I didn't get past this. So if you start talking about more stuff in the book, I'm like, I don't know.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
You said, look, I can't even see. As I waited to be transported to the intensive care unit, I held my look. I can't even see. You said basically you held her hand. I'm doing it now in bunky words because I can't.
That's fine.
Because I can't even read the words. Basically, you said you held her hand because you wanted to know that you were present in the moment. You wanted to basically feel like you were alive.
Right. I was fading.
I read that and I said, look, I can't. No, I got to get through it because people need to hear your words.
One side didn't even have any feeling. When I would attempt to talk, I sounded like a complete stroke victim. And I could hear myself. I know what I want to say, and I know what I'm trying to say. Didn't sound anything near it. And I was fading. Like people say they know when they're transitioning, you know, when they people do know.
These are the exact words because people need to know because I can't do this in bunky words. This is your book. I can't, I'm always changing something. It was like, as I waited to be transported to the intensive care unit, I held my twin sister's hand and we prayed and cried. I remember not wanting to let her hand go. I needed to know that I was alive and present and that she was with me. We held hands until we parted ways and I was moved to the neuro ICU.
Because that was COVID. So it was my first time in the hospital and nobody could stay over.
And all I could do when I had got like a picture of it, you know how you see like baby twins when they're born and how they hold on to each other. And I was like, and I know y'all, and I'm like, I could just picture it. And I'm like, can't believe she went through this. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't believe but God, absolutely. That's the faith part. That's the faith part of your 7 strategies. But yeah, I just that right there, like that right there. But go ahead. So you got the test. And what happened when you got the test? They got you there. They scheduled the test.
Yep, they scheduled the test and it ended up being 2 days later. They scheduled it immediately for 2 days later. And so we wake up, get showered. She's helping me get dressed and everything.
And at this point, you need help. You need total assistance. Okay.
I didn't need total assistance at that point, but I needed help, some direction sometimes, some guy, and she was in the bathroom, I think, fixing her hair. And I was like, I need to get a message to her real quick and then get somewhere safe. So I quickly passed by the bathroom. I said, Rosetta, something's happening with me, so I'm going to go lay on your bed. And I went and laid in the middle of her queen size bed because I knew I'd be safe laying down. And I was in and out of consciousness. I was passing out and coming back passing out. She's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? And I came to and I was like, carry me to this test. Whatever you have to do, get me there. Get me there. And Bunky, I was like holding my sister's hands and I was like, I am dying. But at least the test will tell you why I died. I can almost guarantee you that I won't come out from this test alive. But at least the test will prove that I've been trying to say something was wrong all along. And she just about carried me into that test. And we had to call 911 after.
From the hospital, from the doctor's office.
We left the doctor's office and I was like, something's not right. I'm going to stay in a car. And she was like, no, you're not. And I was like, no, I need to stay in the car. She was like, nope. And we walked into Walmart.
Not today.
She had me in between this, I'm her, this is me, and this is the cart in front of her.
Like a kid, like
So
you would
she
do a
had me
kid.
pressed up against the cart, going to get the stuff that I needed to, that would, make taking my medication easier and things like that. And as soon as we left the store, she had to call 911.
Okay. So this is from February to where are we now?
We're in August by the time I had the testing done.
Okay, so 6 months, almost 6 months have passed by. So you went to
And so
shopping
just
day.
so the viewers understand, this was not TN. This was this misdiagnosed, disease happening at the same time.
Okay, because I'm like,
Typically blood clots on the brain so my trigeminal neuralgia was most probably from the severe clotting that I had on my brain that was pressing up against all the nerves.
so of course you didn't know you had these blood clots.
No.
So that was the catalyst to everything. Okay, so they get you to not. Did you know yet that you had these blood clots by the time they called 911?
No.
Did you know? You didn't know.
No.
Okay.
We did not know until I got to the emergency room and Rosetta told them she just had an MRA. Find out what the results are.
Okay.
And the hospital jumped on the phone, found out what the results were, and they were on the phone in my room. The doctor was on my phone in the room with the other doctor, and I could hear them getting all the results. And it was like, stat, heparin drip, stat, this, get an ambulance. She has to be transported. And I'm laying there like, and I couldn't talk,
Right.
but I kept a tight grip on the EMT's, the female EMT's hand. And she was like, I promise you, I will not leave you. I promise you.
And Ro wasn't there. Was Ro there?
Rosetta got there about 3 minutes after I did.
So you had to have been terrified. You were like alone. You weren't physically, you were alone.
Right.
And you're finding out because Ro's not there when the doctor's on the phone with the blood clots.
By that time, Rosetta's there.
Okay.
By that time, Rosetta's coming into the room because she had to inform them that I had the MRA.
Okay. All right. So what? Oh, God.
And the EMT knew that I had the MRA because she had told the ambulance also that I had just come from. So at that point, whether Rosetta was exactly in the room, the EMT knew and Rosetta was, they were all giving the information.
Okay. So now everybody knows this is going on. You're not really able to talk or advocate for yourself. You have your sister there that's telling them everything that's going on. So after the doctor gets this, because for those that don't know also that's going to catch this later, maybe this is also known as a suicide disease.
Absolutely.
Speaking of, this is also called, there we go. Let me add this. Put that down there. Okay. So now, okay. You got to be rushed out. Do they know how many clots you have?
Innumerable.
So the hospital, before they sent you out, they knew that you had innumerable amount of blood clots.
They knew that I had extensive clotting.
Okay.
When I got to Westchester,
okay,
as soon as the physicians met me in the emergency room, when I arrived on the stretcher, I was able to ask the doctor, I said, how many? And she said, innumerable. She said, so many, we can't even count them. So thick, so wide.
So like
that we can't even see the boundaries of your veins and arteries. Where one ends and the next one begins. They really thought. She said that there's no, when we looked at your stats and we looked at the information and we looked at the results from the imaging, we were like, when she gets here, we'll more than likely be escorting her body to the morgue.
And all this is from February to November. I mean,
Mhm.
August. February to August. That was nothing but God.
Nothing but God.
We know that. We know that.
Absolutely.
In your book, you emphasize the importance of faith, and that's as far as I got. Like I said in your book, that was as far as I got. The faith.
Mhm.
How did you grew up in the church? Harp. I tell people all the time, your father was a deacon. Rest in peace, Deacon Walter Pearson. Say his
And Walter
name,
Pearson.
Walter Pearson, and a praying missionary mother,
For
Sister
sure.
Wanda
For
Pearson.
sure.
So you grew up.
I said for sure.
Yes. Yeah. You grew up rooted and bedded in God can do all things. God, 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 God. At the end of the day, God, everything. God, God, God. So how did that, when you were going through your hard, dark times, how did God help you through those dark times? Because those were some really interesting ways he showed up.
Mhm.
You showed up in some ways that,
He did. He did.
yeah,
I mean, there were so many instances where when I look back, I'm like, he really was trying to
yes,
let me know that he was in my corner, that he had me, you know?
right,
When you're going through it though, you're not always paying attention to different little things. You're in pain.
right.
You're in debilitating pain. And I'm going to answer your question, but I just want to backtrack
No,
because
let's go. Let's
one of the questions you asked before that I don't think I answered was, how TN affects your body,
Yeah, because
your
this isn't
mental.
TN at the time. We're still not dealing. This isn't TN, right?
It was all
It's a
inclusive.
combination,
It's all
but
inclusive. And then in the hospital, they're worried about the clots, but I'm worried about the TN. See, because I can't see the clots, so I don't
right.
know how bad they are. I
Okay.
could feel this pain that is unbearable. So to me, that was my focus point. You know what I'm saying?
So you were having, of course, the blood clots cause headaches, but were you still having like the shooting
Absolutely.
electric? So you had, oh God, you had a lot. You were
Going on at the
messed
same
up.
time. But I
Yes.
know enough to know that it was two separate things,
Okay.
you know? So, which is why it's important to not just have somebody tell you what you have, but do your research.
Mm-hmm.
Do your research because you need to know if something's happening in your body, you need to know that it's not a result of what they told you you have. There's something else
Right.
going on. And how
Right.
many people worldwide, how many people that we just know on a family or friend basis
Right.
have two different, co-occurring
Conditions. Right.
disorders, conditions going on at the
Right.
same time. It's
Right.
common, you know. So I was gonna go to TM, but you're still with the blood clots.
Look, I'm wherever you want to go.
Okay.
Let's go.
So I want to backtrack to go to TM because a lot of people are not familiar with it. A lot of people have
I'm
never
not.
heard of it. A lot of people have never seen it.
No.
And it does a lot to you as a person.
Okay.
It strips you of a lot. I mean, you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't talk, you can't laugh, you can't smile, you can't brush your teeth, you can't drink something, you can't put on chapstick, lipstick, makeup, you can't wear earrings, you can't have your hair touch your face. You can't be out in the cold, out in the heat, you can't lay on your face, you can't hug somebody, you can't kiss somebody, you go to
That's
church, you
your
can't sing
whole life.
your whole life. And that's what I started
Yes.
saying before. From the minute you rise in the morning, your whole life is affected until you lay it back down at night.
Carefully lay it back down at night.
Right. And So it affects every part of your being. And of course, anything as debilitating as this doesn't just affect your face or your body, it affects your mental.
Yeah.
Like I said in the book, it didn't just, wage its war on my face. It waged its greatest war on my faith, because it was hard. It was conflictual for me to claim that I was a child of God, and to claim that God loves me, and to claim that God's a healer, and all of this stuff, and things we know about his character, how he's loving and forgiving and compassionate, and a high priest touched by the feeling of our infirmities. And here I am, I have a grave infirmity, and he ain't doing nothing.
Eh,
I was like, sir, like, I need some help over here.
So it made you question your faith and made you
It
question,
did.
is he really with me? Or did you ever feel like the hopeless point where, like, Lord, why did I give you all of my life if this is what's, because it's just like coming, because it's normal. It's normal to question, like, Lord, I
Absolutely.
served you my whole life and you're gonna do this to me. And that, did you feel like he just left you hanging? But
Absolutely.
okay, but deep down inside, that's because that was the deep down inside, there was that mustard seed. That, yeah, no,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Okay,
But I got to
so
be 100% transparent
absolutely,
and
and
honest
that's
that when I was going through this,
right.
and as hard as it became, and as painful as it was,
Hmm.
my faith probably was at its lowest point.
This is going, nothing that we talked about, but when you mentioned that, and we're talking about the pain and the faith or whatever, could you understand looking at Job's story, right? How his friends, not Job, but how his friends could be like, why don't you just curse God and die? Could you understand now? Because talking to you, I'm like, I can understand it. Even though he
Mhm.
had that faith, Job didn't think that, but everybody around him and even his wife was like, yo, just curse God and die already. Like,
Mhm.
could you
Mhm.
understand that?
Absolutely. And further along in my book, I actually give biblical examples of people that suffered greatly,
Hmm.
and God gave them a grace to go through,
Right.
you know. Um it was tough. So I have to be, when I tell my story, I'm transparent, because I don't want to
Absolutely.
make it look like I got through this on the flowery beds of ease, and walking through a rose garden and all that, because a sister struggled, like straight up struggled, okay? And so these are not strategies that I just kind of like came up with on a whim, whatever. This is stuff that I found out, okay, it's working for me. It's what I need to do to survive. I need my community. I need to be praying. I need to be talking to God. I need to be focusing on the positive things that he's done for me in the past. I had to reach out and pull some stuff from way back, because I was doubting him on like a whole nother level.
And those are your strategies is know your diagnosis, advocate for your needs, feed your faith, defy the odds, exhibit grace under fire, embrace power and positivity, and find your community. So when you was talking about, I was like, okay, check this off. She's talking about this, talking about that. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And so those are the things that got me through. And not necessarily in that
that
order.
order. Right.
My community was, it's the seventh chapter, but it was probably the second most important thing to me,
Right.
because part of my community was my parents, even though they're no longer here, right?
Right.
Remembering their teachings,
Right.
the things that they raised me in, the scriptures that they drilled in me,
Right.
all that stuff. Even that was part of my community, that foundational support.
Right.
Um, remembering the teachings on faith. You know, I remember Elder Mervin always saying, you know, faith is like a muscle. You got to keep exercising it. You got to keep exercising it, because if you don't use it, it gets weak just like anything else, you know? And when you're doubting and when you're negative and, you know, your faith is low, it's not self-implementing. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to
Right.
build itself up. I
Right.
need to build it up. I need
You
to
have to
reach
work
back
it.
and get some victories and focus on those. I need to reach out to my community for support, you know, because they know what I believe, even when my behavior, my speech, or whatever is contradicting that. Because every day for the longest, I was like, bro, I hope I die in my sleep tonight. The pain was that bad. So pain is a false teacher. Pain is a false teacher. It makes you irrational. It makes you question your core beliefs. When you endure
Wow.
something that painful for that long, you
Yeah.
question the goodness of God. You question whether he really is a healer, you know? So back to mommy and daddy, I am thankful for that relationship with God that they instilled in me and
Right.
that I really, really built upon as an adult, you know?
Right.
And I emphasize faith because it's really a confidence and a trust in God when you can't see him working, when you can't feel him working, you
Right.
know? So you have to do things to keep cultivating it,
Right.
you know?
Be like, Lord, I don't see
That
or feel you,
faith,
but I know you there. I
if I
know
didn't
you
have
there
that
too.
faith, I'd
Right.
have killed myself, Bunky.
The suicide disease.
They call it the suicide disease for a reason. And the first year, I was like, is it really that bad? Me, Loretta Pearson, Sister Wanda, Deacon Walt's daughter, born and raised in the church,
Yeah.
filled with the Holy Ghost, testifying, exhorting, you know, at home, always in my word, different things. You know, taught against suicide. Suicide means that you're hopeless. I was.
Yeah. So you can understand why people who don't have the faith like that, why they just it's just, and I tell people all the time. I'm like, you down people that commit suicide, you don't know what they're going through. You don't, if they don't have something to hold on to, you don't, when I say something, I mean God, if they don't, even with God, because people even, engulfed in God, like you were,
Mhm.
still take their lives because of whatever they're going through at that moment is just so much. It's just,
Your mind gets sick and
yeah,
needs to be treated just like any other part of your body.
right.
So
I'm
if I
glad
have
you said that.
cancer and I go for chemo, if I have issues and I need surgery and I go for surgery, why would I not give that same care, consideration to my mind?
Right,
So people who don't have that, who don't have that hope, who don't have the support, who
right,
aren't in maybe a form of therapy, or why would they not?
right, right. And
It
that's a
would be
lot of people.
much easier, I can imagine.
Right. Yo, that's deep. That's deep. Um, Tell people some of like the key, because we talk about God and when you felt like he wasn't there, whatever you was going through, like you talk about it and you tell how you told a story on the last show how you like told Ro, like, don't come, don't do this, don't do that. Basically, and of course she didn't listen, which thank God she was hard-headed. She wasn't feeling you, and you telling her don't come, you're not doing this. You basically gave up. But like while you were in the hospital, because I love this, how God showed up. I mean, like he could not have shown up anymore unless he came down himself and just stood in front of you and shook you, because he came to you that clear and you were still skeptic. I don't blame you because you was in pain, but like I love it. Tell people what happened, because I think it was just great.
So that was an instance where they for several days had been treating, I think a week probably at that point, they had been treating the blood clots, but I was still in excruciating pain. And they flat out told me, we're not concerned about that. We'll deal with that after we get everything else under control. And I get it now.
Right.
Knowing how people have stroke aneurysms or what,
Yeah.
from one blood clot, I get what
Right.
they were
And
saying.
your brain was covered. Right.
But I was in so much pain. I was in the hospital losing hope, you know? Like I'm in
Yeah.
the hospital and can't even get help.
Right.
And I was like, Ro, don't come. It's okay. Like, I'm not doing anything today. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I was in that probably my first dark space
Mhm.
where I may have been losing hope, you know,
Right.
even then.
Right.
And she was like, girl, I'll be there when visiting hours start. And I hung up the phone from her, and it was just short, probably a few minutes before 7, and lay back in the bed. And this bubbly little nurse comes running in the room. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Rejoice. My name is Rejoice, and I'm your nurse for today. Bunk. I sat up in that bed. I was like, stop playing. I said, your name is what? She said, she turned around, looked at me and said, my name is Rejoice. And she turns around right on the board. And I was like, Rejoice, as in rejoice. And she spelled it out, Rejoice. Girl, one of my favorite scriptures. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. And I was hooked up to IV bags and stuff. And I hadn't even showered myself at that point. Rosetta was doing everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had permission at that point that if I ever felt, you know, the unction to get up and do things that
So
I
they were
could,
trying to
as
encourage you.
tolerated. Right.
Okay.
But when you're in pain, you don't want to move.
No,
You don't want to do anything.
Right.
And I unplugged everything. I covered it up, my IV site and stuff up. I jumped in the shower, Bunky. I washed my hair, put it in a bun, and got back in my bed and stuff, straightened my covers and stuff all out. And when Rosetta walked in, she was like, did you do this? Because she would be coming to do that for me.
Right.
She's like, did you do this? You did your hair too? And that was just a sign to me from God that I got you.
Because I never seen anybody spell their name like that. No.
I've never even heard anybody named Rejoice.
Well, you heard of Miss Bubbly, Nurse Rejoice.
Yes. You know, and
yeah, that's crazy.
So throughout there were, you know, when I'm talking about faith, you know, I believe that God does things to feed your faith too.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Right.
And there were just different examples.
Wasn't there like a guy nurse too, like in the beginning?
Singing a church song, a very familiar church song to me. And I never saw him again. And just so many different things, you know,
right.
And in the Bible I talk about, and I don't know if Jen Schroeder is on here tonight, but she's the PSLM 20V7 girl. She's the Psalms 20 verse 7 driver. She's
okay. I'm like
that car.
Okay.
And that was another moment where I was in the car and I was being very transparent.
Okay.
With, you know, my sister friend Taisha and Rosetta. And I was saying, like, I need help. I don't understand. Like, God has to tell me something, how long, like, I'm trying to trust this process, but it's killing me. And she
Absolutely.
passes by driving a car with a license plate that said Psalms 20, verse 7. Some trust in horses and chariots, but we will trust in the name of the Lord, our God,
Mhm.
And I was like, that's for me. Like, it's like I'm in the car out loud talking, and God was answering, going by, And there's so many different things when I look back, when Rosetta and I sit back and actually take our time sometimes
Mhm.
and reminisce. We're like, oh, but do you remember when? Do you remember when? Do you just different, instances where God was really trying to show me that he was there, and that alone was increasing, my faith.
Right.
There was a lot. There was a lot.
And this was a 3-year journey.
3-year journey.
This was a 3-year journey. And I had read somewhere that most people just live with it. But they got the well, the pain. We're gonna get to that. But they got the blood clots, right?
Mhm.
Was that how did they get the blood clots? Especially since and did you ever find out how many it was?
It was innumerable, and because of the fact that it was so many and so extensive throughout, I was not a candidate for surgery. To have any of them removed, it would put me more at a risk of um, causing an aneurysm, a stroke, or anything like that. So they could not touch them. So I was on almost 2 weeks of heparin drip
All those blood
and different
thinners.
things
Yeah.
to break them down and dissolve them back into my bloodstream. So once you're at a safe a safe place, and they know that they'll keep dissolving, and they just keep you on different series of blood thinners, discharge you from the hospital, and then they just let it go on its own. But I'm on constant follow-up for that. I just went to my appointment yesterday. Thank you, Jesus. So now instead of 3 months, I was 6 months. And now instead of 6 months, they just changed me to a year.
Look at God, won't he do it?
Absolutely.
But you
Yes, he will.
had yes, he will all the time. You had brain surgery though, didn't you? You had brain
I
surgery.
did. For the
People don't
Trigeminal.
know all that. So that was not for the blood clots. That was for the TN.
The brain surgery called microvascular decompression, which for short we just use MVD, was for the trigeminal neuralgia.
Okay. See, I was thinking that was for the blood clots. So, but it wasn't for the blood clots. That's for
No.
the
MVD, yeah. Microvascular decompression is specifically for the trigem.
and you woke up from major surgery, not feeling the pain that you've been, which is crazy because that's
From the surgery or TN. No pain. And they were like, oh no, you're going to have to take this because, when the anesthesia and stuff really wears off, I was like, mm-mm.
like, you know what pain is. And like, this is nothing. But you look at that.
Yeah.
Look at.
And surgery is not successful for everybody. So I consider it an enormous blessing.
Right.
And divine healing, that it worked for me,
Your faith healed you. Your faith healed you. God brought you through all of that just to show you who he was. Like, y'all think
Absolutely.
it's a game. Y'all think it's a game.
Yeah.
Let me show you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm the miracle worker. I'm the doctor.
Yeah. And it took me a while to get to the point where I could trust and believe that, even prior to the surgery, I was getting better
Right.
at trusting him and believing that he was going to bring me through this.
Right.
However,
Right. And people don't get that. Whatever that looks like. Like, people
right.
don't
And
get
that's the
that.
thing. It's like, if I gotta be in this, you got to be in it with me.
Right.
You got to help me, because the minute I think you're not with me, or I can't be out here on a limb by myself dealing with
Right.
this. It's too much for me to bear on my own, you know?
Yes.
And, you know, I was honest with God. I was honest with people around me. I was honest with my feelings, you know, honest with my support system, because I needed them to keep bringing me back to who they knew that I was.
Right.
And back to what they knew that I really believed at my core, you know?
Right.
Anybody suffering from anything, you know, not just pain, you know, anything, whether it be emotional or any other sort of illness or disease process, you know, they're all a struggle. They're all a struggle.
What made you write the book? What made you decide, okay, I'm going to write this book? What?
I wanted people to know what TN was.
Okay.
I wanted people to know that it's real, that even though you can't see it, people are struggling from it every day, and that it's ripping people's lives away. I wanted people to know that even in the midst of going through something so great, that it still is possible to, you know, find hope and hang on to it. You know, I didn't want people to feel like they're by themselves going through something, whether it be trigeminal neuralgia or any other sort of chronic illness or disorder, or you're not by yourself.
Right.
You know, so I wanted people to know specifics about the disease. And I wanted people to know that if they're experiencing this, like, other people are traveling this road with you.
Yeah, there's a lot annually diagnosed, over 15,000 around the world.
15, can you imagine? And so one of the numbers you read at the beginning was what, about 8 billion people?
8,211,749,620 people as of like 5 o'clock around the world.
Yep. And so that grows by 15,000 every year.
That's right, because saying diagnosed, but it's not saying who's still living with it. See, I didn't put that together till you just said it. Those are newly diagnosed people, but you also have people who have already been diagnosed with it. Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. I'm getting ready to do something to just break this up a little bit. It's real quick. It's easy. It's real. It's easy, bro. You know, what do you know these answers? You know, this is a new segment, y'all, that I call. Let's hopefully, because it didn't work with in the studio. Let's hopefully it'll work. It's gonna work this time. This is something I call fact or cap. It's fact meaning it's true, or cap. Everybody could join in with this fact. FACT. Think it's a fact, or cap. Like, nah, that's no. We're going in that. So this. Okay, the first thing, TN, this is a factor cap. We talked about this stuff already. TN is just a bad headache or regular nerve pain. Factor cap.
I'm answering cap.
Yeah, definitely cap. It's not regular nerve pain. It's not headache. That's why it is called the suicide disease. Chandra, cap, yeah, because you know you with Rosetta, cap. Y'all like this? Y'all like this? I like this. Okay.
Chandra knows. Chandra was here when I was rolling around on the floor in pain and crying and screaming Jesus and I need help and asking them to just get down on the floor with me and pray for me. Chandra was here, so she knows that's a whole cat.
Shout out to Chandra and Rose sitting in the back. Okay. Second one. TN patients just have to live with the pain. Do they just have to live with the pain, or can they go out and seek factor cap? Cap.
Do they just have to live with the pain, or can they go out and seek?
Yeah. Do they just have no? The question is, do they just have to live with the pain? You're diagnosed with TN, right?
There's a lot out there now that people can choose to treat the trigem.
She said that
There's all
right.
sorts of surgeries and radiations and
Radiation.
radiation therapies, Botox therapy, gamma knife surgery. There's so many things out and some things on the horizon for help. Yeah, absolutely.
The Botox is like to calm the nerves. That's to
Yes.
calm the nerve.
Yes,
Okay.
I was
The nerve
getting
ending.
Botox injections on my face for about 3 months.
Oh wow. Did it help?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's why one side of my face might look bigger than the other one, but no.
I
I
never
look young over here and old over here.
You're aging gracefully on half of your face. Okay.
The half I can't feel.
My last fact or cat is faith and a strong support system can make the difference in managing any chronic illness.
Absolutely cat. I mean, absolutely fact.
Yeah, that's totally a fact. Because like I said, there's so many people that I know right now that are dealing with she done have Botox.
She's jealous. That's why she looks younger than me.
No, yeah. Listen, let me tell you, y'all still look the same to me. I just noticed that one was getting thinner. I didn't know. I didn't know when you was losing all the weight from,
from being sick. And then I went from 160 pounds to 220 pounds because of all the medication that they were pumping me up with.
Okay. And I know
I
you were
lost
so
like
glad.
50.
Huh?
So I lost like 50.
I wasn't gonna tell you a weight, girl. I mean, you can't tell. I don't know why people do that
Look,
with
I
the
tell
weight.
everything else. Look, this thing done stripped me of all my dignity, okay? From being in the hospital to having people have to change me, to have to bathe me, put me in the shower, wash my hair, help me brush my teeth. Lizette had to brush my teeth for me. I can certainly be proud of and tell my age after everything else done been exposed.
I'm an open book. Like I'm an open book.
Open book.
We're gonna get right wind up, but before but I just want to tell people like the difference between now versus then. Like, what is the biggest difference? What change has come over you? Because you had through this process, you had to have changed a whole lot. So, what is the greatest change that you see in yourself? I didn't throw that out there because it just hit when we were talking, so I couldn't prepare you for that.
One of the greatest things is that I can smile. That's huge. That is,
I didn't notice that before because you wasn't the smiler anyway. It was always Ro. So I never
everybody
Ro laughed at everything. Like you were the serious twin. So I didn't pay it any mind. But now, after knowing everything, I'm like, when I saw that big smile when you did after that surgery, so thank God for the smile.
Yeah. So one of the main differences is I think my relationship with God was solidified.
Oh, wow.
Because when you go through something like TN, number one, you can't talk. And
so you had to just be quiet and listen.
Right.
Okay.
And what was fortunate for me was that I didn't need verbal words to talk to God.
Right.
So he was the main one that I could actually commune with 24/7.
Right.
Because I didn't have to try to talk. I didn't have to try to express myself,
Right.
He knows what we're thinking. He knows what our moans and our groans mean. And all the old people in church used to say that. And I used to be like, he knows the moaning and the groaning and what the grunting is mean. Girl, he does.
He knows the silence when there is no grunt.
And he knows the silence even when there's no grunts,
Right. Yeah.
And so my relationship with God was almost just like a relationship with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, or one of your kids. Sometimes the relationship gets stronger after going through harsh circumstances.
Right. It's either gonna make or break you.
It tears some people apart, right?
Right.
Or it brings you closer together in a
Right.
stronger unit, And let me be honest, before me and God got tight, we almost fell the whole way apart. Okay?
You almost broke up with the Lord.
I was like, who are you? Like, do I even know you? Somebody, that you used to run with, all of a sudden they start acting funny or whatever. You'd be like, I feel like I don't even know you. So before we got tight,
more than yogurt.
we was on the outs, but from being consistent,
walking through the valley of the shadow of death, that'll make you tight. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so out of all of this, and they always say, grace is birthed out of pain, faith gets stronger through pain, and so does your relationship with God,
Yeah.
It is nowhere now near what it was, before. And you think you're doing everything that you know to do and everything that you can do and all that stuff, but it's not until you're faced with trials and tribulations and adversity that only He can get you out of, or help you cope with, that it really, really solidifies that. And it solidified that for me. And it was rough. But let me tell you, God is so good. If it were not for Him, I know for sure that I would not be here, And He brought me through the clots, 5 minutes short of going through death's doorway, and then He brought me through the whole suicide, time period, took me through brain surgery. So, He was definitely there and showed me in so many ways that He was. And I could not be more grateful. I am wildly grateful. I have a t-shirt that says wildly grateful. Like, I am more than grateful that I could put into words, that He chose me out of so many people affected with so many different things, that He gave me another chance at life, I could function again, I could work again, and I could go out and, and one of the things that I want to tell support systems and communities is that when you have somebody that's suffering this is why I'm so thankful for, when you have people who are suffering with an illness, whether it be physical, spiritual, mental, whatever.
Right.
You don't have to do a whole lot. There's just simple things that you can do, simple things that my support system did to help me through that time period. Just be there. Be there. Just be silent. Be prayerful. Be patient. If you have a friend that's going through something, be understanding. Be kind. Encourage. Offer physical touch. Ro knows I'm a hugger. My friends know I'm a hugger, but I couldn't hug people, so they'd sit on my bed and touch my leg, sit on my bed and rub my arm, so be there for them. If you know that they can't talk from pain, text them. I can text. I was going through this whole thing, and then when people started figuring out what I was going through, and the first thing they feel is like, oh, she can't talk, she can't smile, she can't do this, they back off. And I understand that too, because some of them are scared. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to help you. The doctor can't help you. They feel like they can't help you. But there's things that you can do as friends. Keep inviting them places. No matter how many times I said, no, I can't go. No matter
Right.
how many times I turned down invitations, my friends kept inviting me. They kept showing up to see if, I wanted to just jump in the car and go
Mhm.
for a ride. They kept doing things, they made sure that I did not feel excluded, even when I was trying to isolate myself.
Mhm.
Your support system is huge,
Right.
and so I want people who are part of a support system for somebody, don't ever, think that what you're doing is not counting. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Don't think that the person who you're doing it for is not going to appreciate it, because we do.
That's people don't get that. I totally hear exactly what you're saying, and I totally understand what you're saying. For people to just be there, just be quiet, just be there. Sometimes they just need your presence and touch. There's nothing like physical touch.
Right.
People don't understand that. Um, I am getting ready to put this up because I did this. So I'm going to, I don't know if I shared this or not, but I just want to get this out for your book. Wait a second. Wait, let me see. How am I going to do this? Wait a minute. There was another part to that. Wait a minute. Let me do that again. Wait a minute. Here we go. Okay, that took a lot of work for me. I was like, no, that's gonna get up there, right?
The whole thing.
Well, you know what? That shared it twice so people know they can get your book.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
Listen, before I let you go, there anything? I mean, like you just gave some good final words, but what would you like to tell people? What would you want people to know? People either going through it, not going through it, how they can reach out to you? Because I'm sure you'd be available if people wanted to, talk to someone who actually went.
Right.
Wait, let me ask you: is this forever or is it gone? Or is
I
it a
believe I'm
condition
healed.
you learn to live with?
I believe I'm healed.
Okay.
There is a reoccurrence rate,
Hmm. But
but
don't mean
I choose to believe God over the statistics. So,
absolutely. I mean, you already you already beat the stats. I mean, come on, you went there
mhm.
with a
Yeah.
brain covered
Yes,
and
but when you do have the surgery, they are very honest and they let you know that there is a reoccurrence rate,
hmm
that maybe after 10 years it could come back. And, some people's comes back a month after surgery.
uh,
Everybody's body is different.
right,
Everybody's situation is different. The
right,
reason why I have Trigem is totally different from the person who banged their head in a car accident. It's totally different from the person who got it from dental work. It's totally different from the person who, it just came idiopathic. So everybody's reason for having it and getting it is
hmm
different. And so
right,
therefore, there's TN1, TN2, bilateral TN. There's so many different types. This is why I said trigeminal neuralgia is just a broad umbrella term
right,
for a whole lot. Like it covers a whole lot. And so,
right,
you know, I don't compare myself to anybody.
right.
I just believe that God healed me and worked with one of the top neurosurgeons and used his level of expertise and, you know,
In
I'm a
California,
walking miracle because of that. In California, can you
in,
believe it?
in California,
Can
you
you
went
believe
across
it?
the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God had to
But
show His hand.
absolutely. But before you close, I just want to say this because,
Absolutely.
you know, if anybody's listening, because since I was diagnosed with this, and even since I published my book, there are like 7 people, Sullivan County, people in my family, second cousins, different ones, people who are close to me, like that I know firsthand, that were actually diagnosed with this. And
Really?
so it's more, it makes it more common for me than what
Right.
it is for other people, Um, so I just want anybody who's going through anything to, if you bow out prematurely, and I know it's called the suicide disease for a reason, because some people sadly succumb to it, and they do end their lives, you know. But if you bow out prematurely, you let it define you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even when you feel like you're at the end of your rope, Elder Mervin used to say, tie a knot
Yeah. He did.
and keep holding on. You know, the fact that you're still here means that you're stronger than you give yourself the credit for. Even in your weakest moments, you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. And what I love about God is that he says, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. And so our weakness, our point of hopelessness, our point of throwing in the towel and giving up is the ideal breeding ground for God's strength and grace. You know,
Yeah.
his strength is made perfect in our weakness. Doesn't mean everybody's going to be healed. Doesn't mean everybody's going to have the same ending to the story that I had. But what's birthed through that process, what's birthed through the pain, the grace, the glory that comes from it, you know, a renewed relationship with God is a healing in itself. You know? And so, which is why I can stand firm and say that either way, a healing took place.
You better tell it, Minister Pearson.
Whether, don't do that. You know, but you know, whether physical, a mental healing, a spiritual healing, you know, we didn't even get into some of the like nitty gritty, but a soul healing. Because if I had presented at the morgue that day, do you know
Oh,
where I would have been? I know where I would have been. And I would have busted wide open.
now wide open.
You know, wide open. But you know what I'm saying? So
Wow. He knows what you
I mean,
need. He
all
knows.
of this,
Wow.
I was saved from a lot.
And only you and him know. And those, even your twin probably doesn't know how deep it was at that time.
Right.
Right. That's only
Right.
something that you and God know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
so a healing took place on so many different levels, you know, that
right.
after that first scare, you know, even if I did end up, you know, dying from TN, say later or whatever, I'm thankful I would have made it to heaven at that point. Because during the first hospital admission, not so much. So I am so grateful. But I'm a backtrack because I want to reiterate to
Okay.
anybody who's watching or listening. You could say whatever you want to say, but I just want to drive this point home again.
Right.
Don't give up.
Me? Who could say whatever they want to say?
You. Not that you were getting ready to say something.
No,
I thought I
because
could.
I'm just like, I'm like, I didn't even think to go down that road like you were talking. I didn't even, because it's you. I'm like, because it just, like I said, your twin probably doesn't know how deep it was. I mean, like, I'm not in that circle like that, but instantly, I would have never thought. I just wouldn't have. I,
Because and some stuff you're not even aware of until you get to that moment where
right.
stuff is actually flashing before your eyes.
So
And
that's real. Of course,
yeah,
that's real. So you
yeah.
saw everything.
And one of the biggest for me was unforgiveness.
That right there,
It
that
wasn't what
thing,
people label as sin, right?
that that is a shackle right there. That unforgive and people walk around and they'll say, "Oh, I forgave you," and they did not. But you
This
know in
ain't
your
no
heart, like,
bondage.
yeah, that unforgive. That's why I can't walk around just mad all the time. No, you
Mhm.
gotta let things go. You
Yeah.
do.
And you think you got over things different, and but when and that people say things started flashing before my eyes and
Yeah.
stuff. It does, and I'm like, oh Jesus, no, like, you start thinking as soon as I get discharged, I'm gonna confront this, I'm gonna get this right, I'm gonna get this straight, I'm gonna do this. So like
Right.
I said, it entails so much things that I didn't even put in the book.
Right. That
Um,
means you gotta write a sequel.
but healing comes in so many different forms for so many different things. So I am grateful for healing on all levels.
Don't find out the heavenly protecting PowerPoints.
What happened? You find out that Heavenly Directing PowerPoint slide is real. Girl, it's real. It's real. It's vivid. It's plain.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm happy. So happy that you were here to tell this story. Um, I so appreciate you telling your story here and doing your talking about your book. Because I appreciate you. I do, even though I don't say much, like I look at all of you guys like my little sisters, you
Absolutely.
know, and I'm like,
We're all
I
born and
had
raised
no
together.
hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
39. Shout out 39 Clinton.
39
Um,
Clinton Avenue, Elmville,
hello.
New York.
But to know, just to know that you went through all, I'll get through this a bit. This little book, I'll get
Take
through
your
it. This
time.
just holds a
Mhm.
lot. It's emotional. It is. And just knowing that you went through that and your story, and it could be because you went through what you went through, that it made it easier for everyone around you that's now being diagnosed to look at the signs and symptoms. Like,
Mhm.
wait a minute, this sounds familiar, or you know what I'm saying? And you pushed it so much that people aren't afraid to ask questions and push the
Right.
boundaries. Like, look, I paid your salary, doctor. My insurance is paying you, so you need to do this. Um,
Right.
so I'm grateful and thankful that you're here and that we know the PowerPoint, Holy Ghost PowerPoint slide is real.
Right.
I don't want to know about, I don't want to see it no time soon. It does. It puts a lot of your journey puts a lot of things into perspective. It really,
Absolutely.
really does. So I appreciate you. I only
I
cried for half a
appreciate
second. This was
you.
amazing.
I
This was
appreciate
amazing.
you. I'm glad that you invited me to you were there from the beginning, when we sat down and
Yeah,
discussed it.
that was
I'm
you
glad to
start.
be able to join you with a praise report.
Yeah, yeah, it was different from the last time you guys were on and you started touching on it, and you weren't where you are today, where you were a couple of years ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So God is so good, and
Yes.
his mercy is everlasting. Like all those things we hear as
Right.
children, we can
Right.
apply as adults. It's like,
Absolutely.
yo, so I appreciate you. I'm getting ready to go.
Thanks, Bunky.
I love you
Thanks
so much.
everyone for tuning in. If
Yes.
you're on Bunky's Tea Time with Bunky YouTube channel, please subscribe. If you come, you join and watch it later.
Yeah, it's totally free. Like,
Subscribe. It's
yeah,
free.
tell a friend, share,
Right.
right? And
Right.
y'all need to go back so you can see the first conversation with the twins, with both of them. That was funny. That was funny. That was funny. But that's when
Yeah.
you open this Pandora's box about this. But it was
Right.
yeah, it's a great. So I want you guys to go and follow Tea Time with Bunky and show me your support.
Yes.
And all of your supporters, which is everybody. Everybody love the twins. Everybody love the twins.
Aw.
So
The twins love all y'all too.
yeah, y'all do. Y'all are young role models. So everybody have a great night. I appreciate you all. Tea Time with Bunky Thursdays at 7 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, on your favorite podcast platforms, which I didn't say them all, which is Pandora Radio, Stitcher, Spotify, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Pocket Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Cashbox, and Amazon Music. You can catch Tea Time with Bunky. I'll send you the link to all of those.
You came a long way since you started this. I am super proud of you.
It's so thank you. I'm growing. You know, God is showing and doing stuff. 4 years next month, girl.
4 years.
4 years. Tea
That's
time with Bunk.
crazy. It's
Yeah,
amazing though.
it is. It's God. Listen, I gotta have you all back on. And Chandra this time has to make an on-screen appearance because she
Oh
always
yeah.
behind.
Yes, because
She's a
I
triplet.
gotta have one here
Yeah,
and one here because they were my ride or dies through this whole thing.
yeah. That's y'all always. So I appreciate you. So Chandra,
And
think
maybe
about
get
it. Huh?
Bunky, yeah, maybe get their perspective
No, yeah.
on how they dealt with this through this because I know it was hard on them.
And you know what? Now that you said that, look, they on the side of you. Where they at?
Right here. One's
Hey, put
here.
your heads in.
One's
How
here.
y'all feel about that?
Put your heads in the camera.
Come on now. How y'all feel about that? Chandra,
They coming.
would you do? Would y'all do it?
Absolutely.
We would.
So we're gonna plan it. The other side.
Yeah, for sure.
Count
All
us
right.
in.
Huh?
Count us in.
All right, y'all look for the date. So everybody, y'all heard it first on Tea Time. They can't back out now because the Lord done heard them. The Lord done heard them. They done said they was gonna do it. Retta, thank you for that suggestion. So we're gonna have the other side of this journey. I don't know if I'm ready, but we're gonna do that. So I'll be reaching
Then
out.
you might be crying. You thought you were gonna cry this
No,
segment.
you know what? Because I probably all my tears was out the first show, and I was prepared, but I couldn't cry for this because you had to tell your story. You know, God had to get his message across. But now they're gonna tell their journey, and that's gonna be maybe one day I can get Dave on out.
Yeah.
Dave ain't
I
coming
mean, they were some strong sisters because I know it was a mess, but
they were your warriors. They were your warriors.
Yeah, for sure.
So wait, stay right there real quick. Don't go nowhere. Everybody, like I said, like, share, follow, and subscribe. Tea Time with Bunky. I appreciate you. Don't you go nowhere. You stay right there for a minute. Okay.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.